Hey guys, yo, what's up? It's your boy here, Kyle, once again. Coming in with some big news here today. WWE, Vince McMahon had a press conference call this morning or this afternoon, and he spoke about many things. He spoke about WWE being a little bit edgier, the product being a little bit edgier, and he also spoke on, for the first time, AEW. Now, he didn't right out say AEW, but he went about it in a way where he mentioned the competition. So um, let's just get right into it. So this was a conference call that Vince McMahon has for the second quarter of WWE financials, which I believe their stocks have actually risen in the second quarter here. I think they made like $10.4 million total. It's like an 11% raise on their stock share. But anyway, these are some key things that Vince McMahon himself, the head honcho of WWE himself, said from the conference call in terms of WWE being edgy and it being a little bit more edgy. And I quote, Vince says, "We're going to be a bit edgier, but still remain in the PG environment. We won't come anywhere close to going into another level. That will be something we do in terms of the direction of content and better storylines. At the same time, we're not going to go back to the Attitude Era. We're not going to do blood and guts, such as being done on perhaps a new potential competitor. We're not going to go back to that gory crap that we graduated from. It's more of a sophisticated product." So right here in the first part of the statement, he kind of already alludes to AEW as being blood and guts. But before I get to that, let's talk about the first half of this paragraph here. Um, it had kind of been rumored or speculated that WWE had been wanting to kind of step away. Well, maybe not step away, but be a little bit more edgier because they want to attract that teenage audience, male demographic again that they've lost. Um, so they said they want to. It's been rumored that that's what they've been wanting to do, but we never really got any confirmation on that. But hearing it from the man himself, Vince McMahon, this confirms it 110%. They are going to go a little bit more edgy, but as he says, they're still going to remain in a PG product environment. So WWE is still going to be PG, but they're just going to be a little bit edgy. And for those who may say, well, darn, that kind of sucks. Here's how I feel. Any change is good. If they can appeal to the younger my generation and younger, that's what they need. Because that's people from the teenage, the 13 to 31 age demographic. That's the fan base that's leaving WWE. That's the fan base that's losing interest in the product. So they need to kind of focus back on that demographic. And let's be real about it. It can be done. It can be done. If you go back to back in the late '90s or mid to late '90s, WCW, when WCW was kicking WWE's ass before WWE took it to another level in the Attitude Era, WCW was edgy. WCW was cool, and yet they were still in the perimeters of a PG based product. WCW, from what I remember, was not PG or it was not TV-14. They were PG, but they still were edgy. So it can be done. And I think having guys like Bischoff or Paul Heyman out at the helms of these shows, hopefully they can kind of get some guidelines and kind of get away with some stuff. So it is possible. It's just going to force WWE to be a little bit more creative. But also in that too, though, it seems like he kind of downplays the Attitude Era a little bit. When Vince here says that he says at the same time, we're not going to go back to the Attitude Era. We're not going to do blood and guts, such as being done on perhaps a new potential competitor. We're not going to go back to that gory crap that we graduated from. It's a more sophisticated product. So it seems like he's really kind of ashamed and kind of regrets what the Attitude Era was, which to me I think is kind of sad, because that's what really brought WWE to the dance. That's what saved WWE from Monday Night War. If they did not go the route that they went with the Attitude Era, WWE may not even exist. We probably have WCW right now, in 2019, thriving, maybe. Um, so I think that's very interesting, and that brings back to the point I made years. I made a video years ago, and I said that if WCW never went down WWE's throat, would WWE ever? Would we have ever gotten the Attitude Era? I don't think so. I don't think so. If we never had WCW compete with Vince McMahon head to head on Monday nights and being, the cooler alternative to Vince's product, which was still kind of kid friendly and family friendly, I think WWE would have been a PG product from, the wrestling boom period, the Hogan era, moving forward. If having WCW forced their hand, it forced them to be edgy, it forced them to be it forced WWE to be badass, to become badass. And it's like once they pass that, once they beat their competition, they kind of, okay, we did what we had to do. We fired on all cylinders. We kicked ass. Now we can kind of calm down, cool off, and let's just coast. And they've been coasting for the last 15 to 20 years now. So I think that's very interesting. Sad, because that's what's WWE's most profitable. I won't say most profitable. Right now, that financially, WWE is it's most profitable now than it's ever been. But that was when WWE, the product, was at its richest. The product was at its best. Um, and then going on here, Vince McMahon talks about TNT, which is the home of AEW, which debuts. He says here, as far as competition is concerned, the old adage is competition is good for everyone. I think that's genuinely the case. We're hoping that to the extent that they are competition, they don't continue with blood and guts and gory things that they have been doing, which would be bad. I can't imagine. I can't speak for TNT, but I can't imagine they would put up with that. So here he's taking shots at AEW, referring to AEW as just something with blood and guts and gory things that they've been doing. Um, it's interesting, and he says he can't speak for TNT, but he can't imagine that they would put up with something like that. Now we know from Tony Khan, I even just reported yesterday, they confirmed that AEW will not be doing like hardcore bloody stuff on their weekly shows. Those things will be saved for the pay-per-view. Even in them doing that and saving those things for their pay-per-view, that's still a hell of a lot better than what WWE is doing, even on their pay-per-views, where there's like no blood and guts, like at all. So I find it interesting that he's already kind of, to a degree, kind of belittling AEW. Let's not get too offended here for a lot of the AEW fans. AEW right now in their beginning phase and their beginning stages, um, they're no match for WWE. WWE is a juggernaut. AEW is an upstart. Apples and oranges, can't compare. So, um, I don't think AEW are going to be, like I said, direct competition. I think they're going to be indirect competition. I've been saying this for the longest time. Um, I just think it's really interesting to hear Vince's opinion on this, because we've, we've always known Triple H probably is just looking at this. Stephanie McMahon is probably looking at AEW, but we never actually heard Vince McMahon himself speak on it. My thoughts and interpretations was that Vince McMahon is so busy with WWE and then doing his thing with XFL that AEW, he may hear of it from his other, co-workers, but he himself might not pay attention. This right here confirms to me he is paying attention to AEW. AEW has Vince McMahon's attention, where he's kind of looking over there. He's looking. I mean, just from their announcement that they are on TNT, home of his former competitor WCW, that's enough noise right there to get McMahon's attention. Um, they have a major primetime TV spot. So I think this is very interesting to hear Vince's opinion on this, to hear uh, not just with AEW, but also even his own product, how he does kind of address like, hey, we are going to make some changes. Something doesn't need to be made. But yet and still downplaying the Attitude Era. You know, one of the most, to me, the best era in WWE, the best era in wrestling was the Attitude Era. And to see him now kind of like downplay that and say like, call it gory crap, and saying that we graduated from that gory crap, and but we're more of a sophisticated product. I can't help but laugh because I'm like, there's nothing about your product that's sophisticated. It's stale, if anything. Your product is stale, and it doesn't appeal to the young demographic anymore like it used to. You don't care anymore. So I just find it really interesting. You guys let me know what you think about this press conference call that Vince McMahon had this morning. What are your thoughts on his opinions on AEW, TNT? I'll hear your thoughts in the box below. Comment, subscribe. Peace out.